Okay, so here we have Farmer Says and the path for it. Now this is another really short song, about 2 minutes on the nose, but this one has 4 activations. Most of the time you're getting 2 phrases and activating pretty much straight after, and this one was kind of annoying as far as paths go. I banned it against Nick at least. I don't know if I banned it against anyone else. Maybe I did. I feel like actually I banned it against everyone but like one person. But yeah, I didn't like this path and the activations in it, so I banned it sometimes. And we'll go into the reasons why pretty much straight away with this first activation. So, we get a phrase, and then we get an immediate act after a whammy. So that's great. I mean, straight away, an annoying activation. Pretty much impossible for me to whammy this and activate on this note using the button. So it was either a case of no whammy, or, like I did, a tilt activation. So we're going for this whammy and pretty much right at the tail end of the sustain, trying as tilting as fast as we can to maybe activate on this open note, maybe a bit earlier. And this song isn't that hard to FC, so you know, missing out on extra notes can screw you over. Which is why I banned it again, because it's not that hard to FC either, as well as the path being kind of annoying. So straight away we have a tilt act after a whammy. I don't like them, so it's already kind of annoying. But straight away the second activation is the same thing. So you get this chord, and straight away you want to activate on this note. So I did the same thing again, another tilt act while whammying. And there's nothing I need to say that, it's literally the same activation as the second one, just the notes are a bit different. So yeah, we get this whammy, activate here. We don't overlap here because there's no way you would, unless I literally missed the tilt, which didn't happen. And then we get some whammies that aren't followed by a phrase at least, and these whammies are really short as well, so they're a bit like as a thing, but it's like back-to-back sustains, and you're not alt strumming, so they're a bit easier to get full whammy out of. But yeah, and this is sort of where you can get screwed over again with at least this, and the path I generated not being an early whammy path. If I got like too much early whammy out of these sustains, I would overlap here. So the activation tells us to activate on this note, which I did at least once. I think in the match against Preston, I activated here. And in practice, I had never overlapped here, so I assumed, alright, I can't overlap there. But in this instance, I must have whammied them. I was trying to whammy so good that I ended up overlapping here. So, after that faux pas, I decided not to activate here and activate on this red note instead. Which, I ended up about the same part, ended up ending it about where it tells us to here. So I was actually going for a better activation than the path tells us to do, thanks to the whammy. So yeah, this is like the only instance where I actually end up using a better activation than the path gives me. So yeah, otherwise there isn't anything to say. It's an easy activation. It's just a case of overlapping. And we finally get another like a sustain here that's the same as this sustain, except this time it's not followed by an activation, even though we have 2 phrases. And the reason for that is that we have another overlap at the end. So, this whammy here, no worries about it this time. Kinda hard to identify where this note is, not that hard, but also this has a disadvantage because this overlap is tight. So instead of activating here, I went for the chord after, this red-blue chord, and this gave me the overlap every time. And instead of ending here, we'd end on the chord, so I don't even know if it lost that many points, to be honest with you. And so yeah, that is, and this chord is a strum, I should say, so there was no worrying about whether it's an up or a down. And I'm pretty sure this note's a hopo, and I strummed this whole thing anyway, but I'll get to that in the notes part of it. So we'd overlap here, end on the chord, and I think I would get 300. I'm not, maybe and something, but I wasn't getting 304, that's for sure. Not with tilt acts. But yeah, that's Farmer Says. At least it's really short and it's over badly. It's over quickly if it goes badly. but I don't think I played this. Actually, I think I won this every time I played it, ironically enough. But yeah, there we go. Besides the match against Preston, but that obviously didn't count or anything. Okay, now we'll move on to the notes. Okay, now we'll take a look at the notes of Farmer Says, like the thing, 1 minute 50, even shorter in fact. This one kind of similar to the thing as well, because I would give the tip again of just paying attention, but there is some things I can at least go into a bit, into a bit more depth, mainly at the end. But we'll just look at the main riff first, because I'm sure to anyone that didn't play bass on console or whatever, or just hates open notes in general, this sort of thing can like almost be unfathomable. Maybe not that bad, but you just don't know what to do. If you really want to do, you could just play that. You could do that on a loop and do it 1,000 times and you get it. But the main gist of it is just everything's on downs except for this last green red chord, which is just 2 strums and that's an up. If you really want to, you could do a double down to make it on a down strum. But that's a bit, it sort of ruins the flow I found for me. The real problem with this is that there's a red-blue chord sandwiched in between 2 open note oboes. And if you just remember that that's like basically the extent of the difficulty of the open notes, we could probably make that a lot easier. Don't know why I'm missing there. And this stuff is okay if you just remember that for some reason there's, because most of it's in sets of 2 strums, there's one part where you have to strum like an extra note, so all in 2s pretty much, and then for some reason after this red blue there's no hammer on. So remembering that that's the way it is there just makes you not miss it basically. What am I doing? And this is easy at least. So the main riff doesn't change at least. And before I do the solo, main riff 2 is the same. I'm going to look at the outro because this is something that even to me is just a bit of a mess. Like, you can break it down, but if you use every hammer on, you can see that green, open, open, yellow, blue, that would end up being on an up strum, which is awkward. So it's doable that way, but I opted to just strum everything. And normally Clone Hero, if you do it at the right time and you don't like rush it or go too late, Clone Hero will be alright with that. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I mean even the bits, the little lick bits in between the main line, or whatever you call it, main riff. And then that little bit at the end is fine, to be honest. So yeah, I think one of the main keys to strumming through parts that have a lot of hammer-ons is just being really steady with your strumming, making sure you're trying to like be on the BPM as much as possible, not trying to stray from the BPM. So if I like I mean, Clone Hero almost allows anything, to be honest, but I think keeping steady will keep you on track and stop the overstrums as well. Okay, so that's the bookends. The solo, there isn't too much to talk about, honestly. I'll just play through it, and if there's anything I have to say, I'll say it. I guess this part can come out of nowhere, but if you remember that it starts off with just a regular blue to open, back to a blue, and then it goes into the sets of 3s, it should be okay. then I guess those chords are something that sort of exists. But if you just stay in second position for those chords, that should be fine. Easy stuff. Once again, easy, but you will be whammying these chords. What I don't know why I missed that. Then probably the most notable chords, right there. And then that stuff is slow enough to one hand, right? Okay, so I guess I'll briefly look at these chords here. So I do like a sort of very subtle position shift in the middle of that. So I'll just go up to it again. I'll start here on the measure. Just so I know what I'm doing as well, I'm going to slow it down. Right, so the position shift happens after this red-blue chord. Very subtle. So basically, instead of just anchoring this, and then doing a shift there, which is more awkward, you just watch. So immediately after that, red-blue just play like this, and basically just putting my index finger on the red immediately after that. So you could say I'm doing it a bit like this, where I've got two fingers on the red note, and as soon as I let go of that, that red's ready to go there, you're already in second position. And then self-explanatory after that. And that sort of thing can be very useful for a lot of chord shifting. And I think that sort of thing, these really subtle position shifts, a lot of it came from playing note shuffle a lot on Rise of Rock. But yeah, honestly, there isn't really much to say about this. A lot of it is just sixteenths, the occasional open note that if you pay attention, as I was saying, you can hit. But yeah, that's all there is to say about Farmer Says. So we'll do a run of it. Okay, so that was Farmer Says, 303k. I've got to imagine that's the best score I've ever gotten there. I think my tilt acts are decent enough to warrant that, but 1k of optimal, and that was, you know, that would be what I would do in a tournament, so it's hard to beat something like that. But anyway, Farmer Says done, and Strum Song's done, so we'll move on to the hybrids, which start off with Superheroes.